the heart of the Pacific Northwest, nestled among the towering pines, lay a forest untouched by time. Locals whispered of its ancient secrets, tales passed down from generation to generation. They spoke of a darkness that lurked within, an entity that preyed on lost souls who dared to venture too deep into its depths. Sarah was a curious soul, drawn to the mysteries that shrouded the whispering woods. Armed with only a flashlight and a sense of trepidation, she set out one evening to uncover the truth behind the stories that haunted her dreams. The forest welcomed her with a deafening silence, broken only by the crunch of leaves beneath her boots. The air was thick with an ominous presence, and Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. But she pressed on, her curiosity overriding her fear. As she delved deeper, the trees seemed to close in around her, their gnarled branches reaching out like skeletal fingers. The once familiar path twisted and turned, leading her further into the heart of darkness. It was then that she heard it, a soft, haunting melody carried on the wind. It sounded like a child's lullaby, sweet and innocent, yet laced with a sinister undertone. Sarah's heart raced as she followed the sound, her instincts screaming at her to turn back. But she couldn't resist the pull, the inexplicable urge to uncover the source of the haunting melody. The trees seemed to part before her, revealing a clearing bathed in an eerie blue light. At its center stood an old oak tree, its branches swaying gently in the night breeze. As Sarah approached, she saw it, a figure cloaked in shadows, its features obscured by darkness. The melody grew louder, filling her ears with its hypnotic tune. She tried to speak, to call out, but her voice was lost in the haunting refrain. Suddenly, the figure stepped forward, revealing its face, a twisted visage of sorrow and despair. Its eyes gleamed with an otherworldly light as it reached out a hand toward her. Sarah tried to run, but her feet were rooted to the spot. The figure spoke, its voice a chilling whisper that echoed through the clearing. "Welcome, child of curiosity," it said, the words sending shivers down Sarah's spine. "You have trespassed into my domain, and now you shall pay the price." With that, the figure lunged forward, its fingers cold as death as they closed around Sarah's throat. She gasped for air, her vision swimming as darkness closed in around her. The last thing she heard was the haunting melody, now a cacophony of screams and whispers. When Sarah's body was found the next morning, her eyes were wide with terror, her face frozen in a mask of horror. The locals whispered of the forest's curse, of the entity that claimed those who dared to seek its secrets. And so, the Whispering Woods claimed another victim, its dark heart pulsing with malevolent energy. To this day, the haunting melody can still be heard on the wind, a warning to all who dare to enter its depths. So if you ever find yourself in the Pacific Northwest, beware the Whispering Woods, for its secrets are not meant for mortal ears. And remember, curiosity killed the cat, but in this forest, it might just claim your soul. In the heart of the forest, where the trees stood tall and dense, there was a place locals dared not tread after dark. They called it the Whispering Woods, a name that sent shivers down the spines of those who heard the stories. Legends spoke of lost souls, trapped between worlds, their whispers carrying on the wind, luring unsuspecting travelers deeper into the darkness. Among the tales was that of Sarah, a young woman who vanished without a trace one autumn evening. She had been hiking with friends, their laughter echoing through the trees as they followed the winding trail. But as the sun dipped below the horizon, Sarah felt an eerie presence watching her from the shadows. Ignoring the uneasy feeling, she pressed on, determined not to show fear in front of her friends. They stopped for a break, near an ancient oak, its gnarled branches stretching like skeletal fingers against the fading light. Sarah couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, the sensation growing stronger with each passing moment. When her friends suggested they head back, Sarah insisted on exploring just a little farther. They reluctantly agreed, unaware of the darkness that awaited them. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the whispers began. A soft, haunting murmur that seemed to come from all directions at once. Sarah's friends heard it too, their laughter fading into nervous silence. They quickened their pace, trying to find their way back to familiar paths, but the forest seemed to shift and change around them. Shadows danced between the trees, and the whispers grew louder, filled with sorrow and longing. Panic set in as they realized they were lost, disoriented by the twisting branches and eerie glow of the moonlight. Sarah, ever the brave one, took the lead, determined to find a way out. But the whispers became more insistent, almost desperate, as if pleading for release. Hours passed, the night stretching on endlessly as they stumbled through the darkness. Sarah's friends clung to each other, their nerves fraying with each passing moment. They could feel eyes upon them, unseen presences lurking just beyond the edge of vision. Then, they heard it, a blood-curdling scream that pierced the night. It was Sarah, her voice filled with terror and agony. They ran towards the sound, crashing through the underbrush until they came upon a clearing bathed in moonlight. There, they found Sarah suspended in the air, her body contorted in unnatural angles. Her eyes were wide with horror, and her mouth opened in a silent scream. The whispers surrounded her, swirling around like a malevolent storm. Her friends tried to reach her, but an invisible force held them back. They could only watch in horror as Sarah's body was twisted and torn, her screams echoing through the woods until they were abruptly silenced. When dawn finally broke, the whispering woods were silent once more. Sarah's friends stumbled out of the forest, their minds shattered by what they had witnessed. They tried to tell their story, to warn others of the malevolent force that dwelled within the trees, but few believed them. To this day, the whispering woods remain untouched by man, a place where lost souls wander and the whispers of the dead echo through the darkness. Those who dare to enter do so at their own peril, for once the whispers take hold, there is no escape. So, if you ever find yourself near the edge of the forest as night falls, listen closely to the wind. You may hear the faintest murmur of voices calling out from the darkness, beckoning you to join them in the whispering woods. In the heart of a dense forest, where shadows danced with the whispers of the wind, there stood an abandoned cabin. Its weather-beaten walls exuded an eerie silence that seemed to seep into the very soul of anyone who dared to approach. It was said among the locals that the cabin was cursed, a place where the veil between the living and the dead was at its thinnest. But curiosity often beckoned the foolish, and a group of friends decided to spend a night within its decrepit walls. As dusk descended, they gathered around a crackling fire, exchanging nervous laughs to mask their apprehension. Among them was Emily, a skeptic who scoffed at the tales of the supernatural. But as the night wore on, strange occurrences plagued the group. Shadows danced in the corners of their vision, and whispers echoed through the halls, though no source could be found. Despite her skepticism, Emily couldn't shake the feeling of unease that settled in her bones. In a corner of the cabin, beneath a layer of dust and cobwebs, they discovered an old VHS tape. Intrigued, they dusted off an old VCR and inserted the tape, hoping for some entertainment to distract them from their mounting fear. The screen flickered to life, revealing grainy footage of the forest surrounding the cabin. The camera shook with each step, and heavy breathing filled the audio track. As they watched, the sense of dread in the room intensified. Suddenly, the camera jolted, and the scene shifted to a figure standing in the darkness, a figure cloaked in shadow, with glowing eyes that seemed to pierce through the screen and into their souls. Panic swept through the group as they scrambled to turn off the tape, but the image remained burned into their minds. Emily's skepticism shattered like glass as she realized the horrors that lurked within the forest. As the night wore on, their fear reached a crescendo, until they were paralyzed by the terror that gripped them. In the darkest hour before dawn, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence, sending chills down their spines. They fled the cabin, hearts pounding in their chests, desperate to escape the nightmare that had consumed them. But as they stumbled into the safety of the downlit forest, they realized they were not alone. The figure from the tape stood before them, its form shifting and twisting with every step. With a voice that echoed like a chorus of the damned, it spoke of forgotten sins and ancient curses that bound it to the forest for eternity. In a desperate bid for survival, they fled deeper into the forest, guided only by the flickering light of dawn. But no matter how far they ran, the figure pursued them relentlessly, a specter of their darkest fears. Hours passed like agonizing eternities as they stumbled through the undergrowth, their bodies battered and bruised. But just when they thought they could run no longer, they stumbled upon a clearing, a place of sanctuary in the heart of the forest. With the last of their strength, they collapsed beneath the sheltering branches of an ancient oak tree, the first rays of dawn casting a warm glow upon their weary faces. And as the darkness retreated, so too did the figure that haunted their nightmares. But as they emerged from the forest, forever changed by the horrors they had witnessed, they knew that some nightmares were too real to be forgotten, and though they may escape the darkness of that cursed cabin, its memory would haunt them for the rest of their days, a chilling reminder of the true terrors that lurked in the shadows.